It is a Wednesday, and that means one thing and one thing only here in the 5 o'clock hour. Welcome to the 5 o'clock Faceoff. Politics, news of the day, pop culture. Let's find out who's facing off. We've got Democratic State Senator Analise Ortiz. Great to see you, Senator. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing great.
And we also have Republican State Senator John Kavanagh. Nice to see you, Senator.
Good to be back.
And what's the name of your book again? Let's give it a solid plug at you. Put it up there.
Yeah, the State Legislatures and Owner's Manual.
Owner's Manual.
All right.
Amazon.com.
There you go.
Reasonably priced.
Reasonably priced.
Operators are standing by.
You can learn about the inside workings. Right. I love it.
Well, let's get to what we didn't. I really didn't think this was going to be the lead story for the 5 o'clock face-off, but it is Epstein. I'm calling it a bombshell. I think a lot of people are calling it a bombshell. We've got newly released emails showing Jeffrey Epstein told, who is it?
Ghislaine
Ghislaine
Maxwell is how you pronounce her name. Yeah.
Told
it took me a long time, by the way,
Maxwell,
to pronounce it.
That Donald Trump, quote, spent hours at my house, quote, knew about the girls, and, quote, that he's the dog that hasn't barked.
What does that mean?
I think it's that she's insinuating that he knows what's going on. He knows that Epstein has these victims, and he hasn't said one word to anybody. Now, again, this is coming from Jeffrey Epstein, okay,
yeah.
one of the worst humans in the world. All right, is it just me, and am I being, kind of silly by saying it sounds to me like they wanted to shut the government down to hide this thing for the last 40 days and then see if they could weasel out of it? What do you think? We'll start with Senator Kavanagh.
Okay. Well, first of all,
maybe a big conspiracy, but
I think that's a bit of a stretch, but I want to hear it. Yeah.
All right. Well, first of all, the Democrats have had possession of all the Epstein files during Biden's time, the Justice Department. They probably combed through that multiple times, dying to get some dirt on Donald Trump or any Republican, and they came up with nothing.
Or they didn't release it for one reason. And that doesn't make any sense.
Do you really think the Democrats, before the election, if they could link Donald Trump to pedophilia, would have just kept quiet? No, they would not do that.
What you're saying makes sense.
As a member of the Democratic Party, I can say if there's a way to lose, we sometimes very often fumble the ball. And so I think they did have it, and they should have dug deeper, and they should have released it.
Well, that actually is one of the redeeming qualities of the Democrat Party. But anyway, beyond that, also keep in mind that to date, and there have been a lot, Epstein and Maxwell had a lot of victims. Not one victim has ever come forward and linked Donald Trump to any wrongdoing. Not one. All right? Now, let's get on top of that.
Can I also point out, along those same lines, not one perpetrator of pedophilia other than Maxwell and Epstein have ever been charged. They weren't the only two, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right. But
nobody's been charged.
In the released emails, Epstein wrote that Trump had spent hours at his house with one of the victims.
And let's stop right there.
Okay.
They redacted the name of that victim.
Of the victim.
That victim's name was not redacted in the original files because that victim is already public. And that victim's name was Virginia Geoffrey, I'm probably she stated publicly that Trump didn't do anything wrong, and he was friendly to her. He was not involved at all. So the Democrats who want to use this cherry-picked email to get Trump involved have to cross out the name because the name and the only email they could find exonerated Trump.
Okay.
This is BS.
5 o'clock face-off. We've got Democratic State Senator Ortiz and Republican State Senator Kavanagh. State Senator Ortiz.
As an auntie to 5 girls, I am absolutely sickened to my stomach that anybody can try to find an excuse around this. The emails sent years ago said that he knew about the girls. Let's keep in mind that Donald Trump is one of the most powerful people in the world and an incredibly vindictive and dangerous person. Do you think that victims are going to be wanting to come around on the front page saying what happened, knowing that they could be harmed for that?
This one
the
exonerated
women who
him.
have come out have been incredibly brave, and I want us to remember these were girls.
This was the brave one who exonerated him. Talk about her.
By the most powerful people in the world for sex. Epstein and Maxwell are convicted sex offenders of children.
But tying it to Donald Trump and trying to find evidence, and when I say evidence, I mean you've got to be 100%. It still doesn't sound like they have it.
Are you saying this victim lied? Are you trashing this victim?
For this email to say that he knew about the girls is pretty solid evidence to me. And it tells me why they have been fighting so hard to stop the release of the Epstein files.
And you're right. But hang on. Did he know, or did he involve himself with someone? That's what I don't know. Did he know about it going on? I don't know. This email says
this is Epstein
maybe.
And Maxwell talking to each other.
On an email, right?
People always claim that they have inside info, inside contacts with people in power. These are two felons, two pedophiles, two child traffickers, and you're taking their word over the word of the victim who exonerated Trump. Shame on you.
There's no excusing this. I don't care what political party you are from. Trump was best friends with these people. Even today, he is working to make sure that Ghislaine Maxwell has star treatment in prison. A convicted child sex offender is being treated, rolling out the red carpet for her. And he's even entertaining the idea, we're seeing headlines that she wants to ask for a pardon. This is disgusting. Trump should rebuke this. We should have had Mike Johnson swear in Adelita Grijalva, which he didn't for 50 days. She was just sworn in today because he was delaying as long as possible, knowing she would be the final signature to release these Epstein files.
Let's put up or shut up. Are you accusing Donald Trump of being a pedophile?
And we need to
focus. Are you accusing Donald Trump of being a pedophile?
The evidence seems to point that he has been involved with this child sex trafficking ring.
Fine. You know, I suspect Trump lawyers will be contacting you pretty soon.
I suspect
for that unfounded, defamatory remark in contradiction to the victim who said he did nothing.
What proof do you have that the name redacted is the name of this? Caroline Levitt's word? We're going to listen to her protecting the most powerful person in the world?
Well, then you read it and come back and do a retraction tomorrow on the show.
So here's what the emails say.
He is a protector of pedophiles, that's for damn sure, and so is Mike Johnson.
Right. Okay, so here's kind of what the emails between Epstein and Maxwell are saying. That Trump at the time had spent hours at my house with one of the victims. Among other messages, it suggests that the convicted sex offender, Epstein, believed Trump knew more about his abuse than he had acknowledged.
Believed.
Okay, yeah. But
not new.
But don't you look at these emails, Senator, and say, that's not good for Trump, man. That's not good.
And it's never good when any public official is smeared by pedophile liars. But there's still pedophile liars who are smearing and trying to make themselves look big and powerful. You know, there was a time when Democrats believed that there should be some proof before they slander people. But apparently when it's Trump to be slandered, no proof is needed.
What
Baseless
year were
accusations
these emails
are the
released?
coin of the realm.
I think one was 2011.
So you're telling me in 2011 they concocted this giant scheme knowing that Trump was going to run for president to try to throw him under the bus. Somebody that was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein, where there are multiple photos of them at parties together with young girls around. The fact that you are even trying to debate this just makes me sick to my stomach. It makes me worry.
Well, you know, take an antacid,
for all of the victims out there who are listening to just how harmful this conversation
don't try to get
is.
victims in your court after you trash this victim and claim she's a liar. You're claiming this victim is a liar when she exonerated Trump. Why don't you apologize to her and then backtrack on your Trump statements? Well, then again, we only make $24,000 a year, so he's not going to be able to sue you for too much.
So what do you make, though, of Maxwell being moved to a low-security prison? And it does, in the reports that I read, and it's all I can go by because I'm not there.
After his attorney went and had a meeting with her.
Right. Why low-security prison and why some preferential treatment? I think that's odd. It doesn't, for me, does it lead me to say he's a pedophile? No, I don't really know. But it's weird. It's weird that he doesn't want these files to come out. He said during...
He wished her well.
He did, but he said during the election, we're gonna release all these files. His MAGA base wants the files out, and he won't do it. And that's one thing they've been managing
screaming at it about for years.
2 points about that. Number one, I know more about state prison than federal prison, but I know that generally when you go to prison initially, you go into a high security environment, and then you are evaluated And after a while, they determine, based on a scoring system, whether you go low, medium, or high. I have no idea what her score was. I have no idea. I don't know how that happened.
It is an odd coincidence that the week after Trump's attorney goes and sits down with her, that she suddenly moved to a lower security prison. I just don't believe in coincidences.
I do not know.
Yeah.
He is working to protect one of his best friends to roll out the red carpet for a convicted child sex trafficker. That should make all of us sick to our stomach. I don't care what political party you are.
Well, and if I could say something, it seems, if you believe any of the context of the emails, not just the word, the context of them, that Trump was aware in some way, shape, or form, because one of them, it said he asked Ghislaine to tell him to stop doing this.
That makes him culpable.
Well, he said,
we have mandatory reporters for a reason to protect girls and kids from sex abuse, and he couldn't take it upon himself to report this to the proper authorities, while the elites, the wealthiest people in the world were purchasing 13-year-old girls for sex.
And not Trump.
And
anyway,
these emails say Trump knew about it and did nothing.
It was well known by everybody, or suspected by everybody, that he was doing that. So it's quite possible that Trump heard it as part of the general grapevine and said to her, "You better stop that stuff," without having any involvement whatsoever.
We're out of time for the first segment. But let me make one point, though. Why doesn't he just release everything and just let everybody read it?
I'll tell you why. Okay. Because a lot of people don't want to see all these names released, because there are scores or hundreds probably of meetings and exchanges that he had with purposely innocent people. And once their name is in any way reacted, people like Senator Ortiz will assume the worst and call them pedophiles. Bill Clinton was mentioned. Dershowitz was mentioned.
Let's find out.
They're not
Well, let's find out.
One girl has accused Dershowitz.
There are proper protocols
publicly accused him of abusing her.
to protect the names of the victims that need to be protected while exposing anybody, regardless of political party, who was involved with this.
Was worthy of pursuing.
There is no excuse for not releasing them.
The economy is facing some headwinds. I think even reasonable people would say that, looking at some of these. But who are voters blaming for this? Trump's approval rating has been sinking, and it appears that the economy, maybe not Epstein, but the economy is behind a lot of the negative feelings towards him. Is that fair?
Well, first, Trump has been in office, 9, 10, 11 months, right? So obviously he has some effect on the economy, but clearly there's still a lot of Biden effect in place. And there are also other factors besides who's president that have an effect on the economy. So to answer your question, who's blaming? It's easy. Republicans are blaming the Democrats, and the Democrats are blaming Trump. That's the way it always is.
Here's what voters are saying, that this is Donald Trump's economy now. So if you look at like election day, on election day, there was a question that was asked, who do you trust on lowering grocery prices, Trump or Harris? And Trump led by 9 points. And that's really, I think, why he won the election.
He was getting lower on day one.
Plus 9, okay, on election day. Now Trump is minus 26 on lowering grocery prices. So, I think tariffs have had a big deal with it. Earlier today, I was talking to Bruce about coffee. The average U.S. retail price of a pound of coffee hit $9.14 in September of this year. That's 41% higher than the price in September of 2024.
Gasoline's way down. Okay. Eggs are down. I mean, it's a mixed bag.
Now that their person is in office, it suddenly becomes, there's a lot of factors and he needs more time. But when you talk to the everyday person, they are fed up with what is happening and with the false promises. One of my constituents called me saying that her Affordable Care Act plan is going from $200 a month to $700 because of what Trump is doing with rolling back the subsidies on the Affordable Care Act. She is a senior citizen who works part-time, not yet eligible for Social Security. These folks are struggling and they are scared. And when we look at the tariffs, but it's also the layoffs, right? The federal layoffs, Elon Musk coming in and just firing everybody. The job market is horrible. Many of those folks still cannot find work. Then we have the pause on SNAP, which has hurt so many Arizona families, but also it's hurt small businesses, small grocers who are no longer seeing those families come in to use their SNAP benefits. It is a forgive my language, a crap storm that Trump has created, and Trump and Republicans in Congress are solely to blame for where we are.
The pause on SNAP will be about a week long, so I don't think that's an issue, and that's because the Democrats refused to sign the continuing bill. But in terms of the cost of Obamacare, Obamacare was supposed to reduce the cost of medical care. So why do we have to subsidize something which, if anybody lied, it was the Democrats who said Obamacare will reduce the prices. Obamacare brought it up so much, it now requires extra subsidies. Explain that to your constituents.
I think that Biden was in a bubble, and I think Trump's in a bubble. They both. I saw two clips yesterday. One of Biden. He says the economy's great. This is great. Inflation's fine, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And then Trump the other day. Well, grocery prices are down. No, they're not. I don't.
Are you suggesting Biden doesn't know what he's talking about?
I don't know why either.
I don't think Trump knows what he's talking about. I assure you of that.
Both
yeah.
presidents
doesn't know what Biden's talking about.
Both presidents lie to our faces about.
I would say here's the biggest difference:
economy and grocery prices.
The biggest difference, and I'd throw it at Senator Kavanagh here. Economies have cycles. They go up, they go down.
Yeah.
Presidents with an R next to their name or a D next to their name have had good economies and bad economies. Tariffs. One person unilaterally deciding to raise the price of things with tariffs is the major reason why the cost of goods has gone up.
I have mixed feelings on tariffs.
I don't. I'm against them.
Well, I was gonna say, being a conservative, I believe in free markets.
That's me. I'm a free market conservative.
And I hope I don't offend you.
Which is why I'm not part of MAGA, because that's no free market
I believe
there.
in free markets. By the same token, we were being ripped off by foreign countries. Biden
by having lower prices.
And Biden tolerated a lot of countries playing games with us. Right. And Trump came in, he initially put some heavy tariffs on and very quickly negotiated deals with a whole bunch of countries that made the playing field
like
even.
Ireland. It's not doing
And he's
anything.
now worrying about China, which is doing a number on us. So while I generally don't like tariffs, I think some of the tariff activity actually did work and maybe was needed.
Okay, we got to leave it at that.
I run a trade deficit with a lot of places, and I'm happy as long as I'm getting things at the price I want. I have no problem with it.
Let's talk about ICE. Okay, so when Biden let the world in, I was completely against it. I thought he was the worst president when it came to securing the border. Donald Trump has done a great job at securing the border. But for me, this is not the ICE that I know. This is not the ICE that I have seen. Joe Biden went so far to one side by letting everybody in, and now Donald Trump has gone all the way to the other side about getting every single person out. We're arresting Americans. A 1-year-old was, pepper sprayed by ICE agents. We'll start with you, Senator Kavanagh. I just think ICE is completely out of control right now.
Well, ICE is being put into a situation where agitators, right, using social media or phone blogs, right, are able to assemble large crowds to physically obstruct their doing their duty. And sometimes these crowds get riotous, and they respond the way police respond. And very often they're in a double problem because the local police, if it's a blue state or city, rather, will not come and help them. Look, I was a cop for 20 years. I've been in crowd control situations. I've seen footage of demonstrations in the 60s and 70s. ICE is actually pretty constrained based upon what I've seen in the past.
But if you're a former cop...
That's before we had cameras everywhere.
You're a former cop. I mean, they're not... They're in unmarked cars.
Why not? I was
wearing
a detective.
Masks in
I was
civilian
a detective.
clothes.
I get it, but people don't know. People think they're getting kidnapped, and they're like, "Oh my, I don't know who these people are."
Well, first of all, these they're in unmarked cars because when you're going to pick somebody up, you try to sneak up on them so you don't have a chase and endanger people.
But I don't know who they are. They're not wearing a uniform. I have no idea.
I've seen them wearing vests that say police and ICE all over it.
Vests you could buy at a Halloween shop. They are not wearing badges. They are not identifying themselves. They are not showing a warrant. This is unlawful, reckless, and out of control behavior.
Look, I was a cop for 20 years. I was a detective sergeant. When we arrested people, we weren't wearing our badges. We were in our civilian clothes. We'd come up and we'd say, police, you're under arrest, and we'd cuff them. And that's the way it's been done for
But you had probable
centuries.
cause, didn't you? You had a warrant? You had something?
You don't need a warrant to arrest somebody. You don't have to have a warrant.
You have to have probable cause that a crime has been committed.
Yeah, but actually the level is actually less for ICE in terms of immigration. So they're legally picking up people who they believe to be here
How do
illegally.
they believe it, though?
Based on their skin color.
Is
No,
that the
that's
case?
ridiculous. Most of the time, they have a list and they know the address, and they're going after people who have outstanding deportation orders.
So let's talk about the
situation. Do you object to picking up people with deportation orders?
Let's talk about the situation at the daycare in Chicago, right? You had a woman.
And by the way, I've heard two different stories with what you're talking about, which is part of the problem, but please go ahead.
Because ICE and DHS cannot be believed. They are putting out these propaganda press releases that are not telling the truth.
So tell us what happened in Chicago.
This agency is absolutely acting
the criminals
unlawfully and recklessly. In Chicago, there was a daycare worker, a beloved teacher of pre-K kids who had a work permit. They were pursuing her. Again, unmarked vehicle. How is she supposed to know who these people are with masks and guns? She goes to her place of employment. They follow her in. They go into every single room shouting, who here is undocumented, looking for her. And the daycare workers in there were not criminals. They were hardworking teachers. You have 2- and 3-year-olds crying, seeing these masked men, not knowing what's happening, terrorized.
Is there a better way to do
And people were
that?
trying to take video of this. There were not riotous mobs. It was the daycare workers who were concerned about their colleague, and these 2- and 3-year-olds are crying, traumatized for life. You want to talk about trust of law enforcement?
Now let's
Do you
talk
think
about
those
what
toddlers are going to trust law enforcement having gone through this traumatic event of their beloved teacher being arrested and tackled to the ground?
They had information. They were going after this person because she was here illegally. They approached her, and she ran. And she ran into a school. Now, if I'm a cop and I'm locking up somebody who's broken the law and they bolt away and rush into a school, I am going to break into that school so fast and so hard because an illegal lawbreaker just broke into a school and could be endangering children. They were protecting those kids, and any reasonable person would interpret it that way who doesn't think ICE does everything wrong and doesn't want anybody deported.
This is a daycare worker. This is not
the
violent criminal gang dealer or drug dealer
Cops
and
don't
gang
know
member.
that, Analise. You don't know. You know it's a lawbreaker you're going
would,
after. And they broke into a school and tried to escape
I'll wait till
apprehension.
he's done interrupting me.
Well,
Trump said he would go after the most violent of the violent, gang members, drug dealers, people that are causing actual violence and harm, not a daycare worker who's
let me
beloved by her
interject
2-
one
and
thing.
3-year-olds.
Who
Let's be
gets to be picked
serious
up by
about
ICE?
this. And the reality is that his numbers with Latinos are dropping rapidly because he did not say he was going to go after the everyday person who's contributing to our community.
The story that I see from DHS is different than the media, I guess. And from what I understood, she was teaching inside the school.
no, she ran into the school.
Okay, see, that's what the media is saying.
Yeah, and that's the truth.
Now,
But he showed up to work.
Now
I
let's
believe.
But
take a
she was
circumstance.
outside, and then she ran in. They didn't know if she was with the school.
Okay,
Now
but
let's
does
take a
she
circumstance.
have the right papers? Because what I read is that she has the right papers.
Well, they had information that she didn't, and that would have been cleared up had she simply submitted and come into the station
I don't think
house or
anybody
whatever they
believes
call it.
that. Sorry.
Well, well, let me tell you something.
They think you're going to be whisked away and never heard
Here's
from
the
again.
question I have. Who exactly is it okay for ICE to pick up? I mean, 10 million people under Biden
I'd
came
like to
into
see
this
a warrant.
country.
I think I'd like to see a warrant.
No cops need warrants. I never arrested anybody on a warrant in my 20
No
years.
cops
you don't
need warrants. Do you?
No.
Are you unaware of the Fourth Amendment? Are you unaware
And the Supreme
of
Court
our
does
right
not- the
to
Supreme Court does
ask
not-
for a warrant that is signed by a judge
The
before law
Supreme-
enforcement enters any
You're-
private
that's
property?
a search warrant,
This
Analise.
is horrifying that you're
that's
saying this
you
as
don't know
a law
what you're
enforcement
talking
officer.
about. That's a search warrant. The courts never require an arrest warrant for an arrest.
If it happened to you under a Democratic president, you would be screaming
that's
and
not true.
crying
But
about the Constitution.
Who does ICE get to pick up?
Now-
10 million people came here only a couple of years ago. They're here illegally. Are you okay with ICE picking them up?
I want to go back
You gonna answer
to
that question or evade
Gaydos'
it?
point about the media. What
She
do
will
we
not let
believe?
anybody be picked up by ICE because she wants anybody who can get past the Border Patrol or overstay a visa. She lets them stay here. No pickup, no ICE. That's why she opposes ICE, because they're enforcing
You want to respond to what
past
he said?
laws.
What he
People
saying?
deserve due process. We have a constitution and a. He's
and
not going to stop interrupting
you
me,
can't-
so maybe I won't answer his
All right,
question.
you can't get due process if you're not picked up.
All right, let's
Will
let
you
her-
allow them to be picked up?
Let's let Senator Ortiz finish.
I'd like to go back to what you're saying about the media. Okay,
She was gonna answer it.
We had a
evasion
person
again.
here in Arizona who, the official press release that came out said that he had rammed ICE's truck. Video evidence comes out. This was reported by the Phoenix New Times, showing that it was ICE who rammed his truck,
Okay.
putting him in danger. They are twisting the stories, and we need the media to do a better job about finding the facts here, because the Gestapo had propaganda forces as well. What we are seeing is hearkening back to that disgusting dark moment in history.
I got 20 seconds left for Kavanagh.
Who gets to be picked up so they can get due process? Will you let ICE pick up anybody here illegally, especially the 10 million who came in the list?
The problem is that they are racially profiling people. I have constituents who have told me I'm a first-generation citizen.
So nobody.
I have my citizenship, and I am driving around with my passport because I am so scared I'm going to be pulled over and racially profiled.
So your answer is nobody can get picked up?
We got to leave it at that.
Due process.
I'll go with adjudicated criminals.
Repeatedly.
I'll go with adjudicated
criminals. As much as you want to put words in my mouth, just saying it louder isn't going to change the fact that I answered the question.
Adjudicated criminals.
All right, we got to leave it at that.
Did Governor Hobbs do enough? Did Governor Hobbs help fill, the void of the federal government during the shutdown? And could she have done more?
Senator Ortiz?
She jumped into action right away, pulling together a task force of direct service providers to figure out what was needed and how she could get it to them most effectively. Allocations to food banks, the Food Bucks Now program, which was stood up very rapidly to get a little extra dollars in people's hands, and then just most recently an additional $1.8 million. So I think she did do enough. The problem here is that Arizona's budget is in such a bad place because of decades of Republican leadership that we just couldn't shoulder this burden from the federal government. It is disgusting that we were playing games with people's lives and using starvation as a weapon. And I think she did the best she could to right the ship during this very rocky time for our communities.
How'd you do, Senator Kavanagh?
Well, I know I read a lot of the Democrat blogs and everything, and I know a lot of Democrats were criticizing her for not doing as much as other Democrat governors did. But there were limited resources here. I was shocked that she found $1.8 million in COVID money. I couldn't believe that they still go and spend COVID money.
Where's that?
This is like the gift that keeps on giving, or the nightmare that keeps on reoccurring.
Nightmare, yeah.
I have a question, because it was a question we posed to the governor, and it's one that, again, legislatively, I don't know how it works. We have a rainy day fund here in the state of Arizona. Sure. I saw a number, $1.6 billion. Yeah, we can agree it's in that ballpark, right? Could the governor have dipped into that to make up the difference in SNAP benefits for citizens of Arizona? Is that something that the governor of Arizona could have done? And if she would have called the legislature back to talk about it, is it something you would have supported?
Well, it has to be a bill.
It would have to be a bill.
You couldn't do it unilaterally.
So the governor can't just say, I'm spending this money, executive order, et cetera.
She said she couldn't do it unilaterally, but she could have everybody come back.
Called a special session.
Are you allowed to say, no, I'm not coming back?
I would have gladly come back for a special session and considered using some of that money to help offset this burden for families. We're talking about single moms who didn't know how they were going to put food on the table for their 3 kids. Talk about terror and fear. We should never have had any families being in that situation of even the anxiety of how am I going to feed my kids or feed myself. Senior citizens who were visiting food pantries because they had nowhere else to go and thankfully could get some extra soup cans and macaroni and cheese. I would have come back.
What about you, Senator Kavanagh?
Well, I come in all the time anyway. I'm majority
You're there
leader,
anyway.
So I'm already there.
Would you be for dipping into that?
No, absolutely not.
No, why not?
Well, I was here. I first came to the legislature back in the. I was elected in 2006, and Napolitano was governor, Democrat. The second year I was there, she raided the rainy day fund just as the Great Recession was starting.
Okay.
Not to make up lost revenue. She raided it to increase spending. And then the Great Recession hit with a torrent, and it made the cuts over the next couple of years all the more deeper because she used the rainy day fund, which we could have helped, and she increased spending that we had to even cut some more.
Can I ask a question?
And
this is for both of you.
Bruce, 30 seconds.
What is the rainy day fund for? Because I would have argued that when people weren't getting their SNAP benefits, it was raining to them.
It is for a decrease in revenue that you want to make up, or it's for an unanticipated major expense, like some major lawsuit or a disaster or something. Oh. It is not meant to be something that it supplements day by day. It's for real, true emergencies. And if you deplete it every time something like this happens, even though the SNAP money wasn't stopped, you'll eventually have nothing when the rainy day comes.
And we have been incredibly reserved in our spending as a state. We, under the governor's leadership, we have also ensured that that money does remain untouched, right? For the last 3 years of her governorship. I agree that it was raining really hard, including for my constituents, and that's why I would have supported coming back and considering taking
both of you
some money from there.
Thank you so much.
The SNAP money wasn't taken away. What's the rain?
Fair enough.
It
We're gonna
was
leave that.
taken away for
They didn't get
least
it for
12
weeks.
days.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay,
Yes, but
okay,
yeah.
two-week delay.
We appreciate it. Senator Kavanagh, Senator Ortiz, thank you. The 5 o'clock face-off. Appreciate both of your perspectives.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.